All right, hello, good evening. Welcome back to the Law Entrance YouTube channel and to another session of the Hindu analysis. Today is 12th of June and a lovely Friday evening. I hope all of you are doing well. Just give me some responses in the chat if I'm audible and visible. I hope I am. Oh, wait a second. Hmm, okay, ठीक है. So, couple of updates. First update is could not take yesterday's session. There was power outage here. Heavy winds, thunderstorms, and this light just went off, did not come for almost 30 hours, I believe, which is a new record for this city, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, even today, power is quite disrupted. Therefore, I'm recording this session. I also have to travel for some work. And I'll be there with you guys live in tomorrow's session. So, apologies for the inconvenience, first of all. Second of all, because today's session is a recorded session, we won't be able to do our quiz today. So quiz would be carried forwarded to Monday or Tuesday. We'll decide depending on the turnout. And boot camp is also going on as of now. So turnout is also pretty low. So it makes no sense doing the quiz uh, this week. So let's do it next week. The topic stays the same. What was the topic which did we decide? What did we decide? Uh, भूल गया मैं क्या टॉपिक डिसाइड किया था हम लोगों ने जो भी किया था मंडे को डिस्कस करते हैं ट्यूसडे को करते हैं उसको ठीक है एंड yeah, that's pretty much it. Apart from that, there is gonna be a change in timings for our Hindu analysis, most likely next week. एंड उस पर फाइनल अपडेट क्या है वो भी मैं आप लोगों को कल देता हूँ या मंडे को देता हूँ. डोंट वरी, विल डू इट इन अ फेज्ड मैनर. वी वोंट सडनली शिफ्ट द टाइम. तो 4-5 दिन का बफर दूंगा मैं आप लोगों को. And then most likely by next week, or rather next to next week, we would have a different time slot for the Hindu analysis. The team wants to experiment with a morning slot or an afternoon slot, and we'll see how that goes. Regardless, today's Hindu analysis, let's begin with the news for the day. Let's look at today's agenda. Today's 12th of June. We have three articles to discuss on the PPT. One is regarding homemakers and their contribution. One of them is regarding AFSPA, which is the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which you would have heard is usually applied in the northeastern states. So our Home Minister has said that he plans to remove the AFSPA from the northeastern states by the next year. And the last one is regarding FCRA, which is Foreign Contribution Related Act, and it pertains to the fundings which NGOs receive from foreign entities. And usme kya changes hain, we'll be discussing that as well. Right. On that note, let's begin today's discussion. Let's move to the newspaper, do the articles on the newspaper, and then we'll come back to our PPT for the remaining articles and the vocab for the day. Just give me 1 second. Let me put my charger. ओके, वी आर बैक. ठीक है, तो न्यूज़पेपर की तरफ चलते हैं, स्टार्ट करते हैं आज की बातचीत. लेट्स गो. Okay, the first article for the day is Trump backing off from Iran strikes and signaling that a deal is likely. Now, this back and forth is going for almost 2 months now. And a few days ago, we saw that Trump said that he would be striking Iran, specifically the Kyrgyz island. And now he has again backed off, saying that they are exploring the possibilities of a deal. Now, there's not a lot of new things to discuss here. We have pretty much discussed this over the course of past couple of months. And काफी सारी countries came in support of negotiating a peace deal. Saudi, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan brokering the deal. We all know that. And there's pressure mounting on US to now finally come to terms with the war, because we all know supply chains are disrupted, inflation is increasing, Strait of Hormuz is blocked for quite a while now, and Iran has also issued a warning. Their parliamentary speaker warned that further escalation could damage energy infrastructure across the region. Across the region means across West Asia. रिसेंटली भी हमने देखा था दुबई में स्ट्राइक्स हुई एंड कतर में स्ट्राइक्स हुई. सो दैट कुड इवन बी मच मोर वर्स. एंड ग्लोबल एनर्जी मार्केट्स कुड बी डिसरप्टेड. तो टेंशंस जो हैं काफ़ी ज़्यादा हाई चल रहे हैं. दैट्स प्रीटी मच व्हाट वी हैव इन दिस आर्टिकल. अभी कोई फाइनल डिसीजन नहीं आया, बट दैट इज द लेटेस्ट अपडेट. On the right hand side, you see US hits one more vessel with Indian crew of Oman. ये मैंने आपको पिछले सेशन में बताया था that this attack has taken place and rescue operations were ongoing. So this happened on Thursday, and this vessel, this ship was called Jalveer, which was carrying bitumen. Bitumen is a petroleum product. Oman के पास हुआ ये attack. There were around 20 Indian seafarers on board, and most of them are safe. And this is the third incident in 4 days where the US has struck a ship. इससे पहले इन्होंने दो और ships पे strike किया था, Marivex and Setebolo, and उन दोनों ships पे भी Indian crew थे. 3 इंडियन क्रू की कैजुअलिटी हुई है, सो दे हैव बीन किल्ड इन दीज स्ट्राइक्स. एंड इंडिया का रिस्पॉन्स अभी थोड़ा डिप्लोमेटिकली ऐसा ही है कि हमने यूएस को कंडेम नहीं किया है. We have expressed concerns on what has happened, and we have thanked the countries who have helped in the rescue operations. But obviously, opposition की तरफ से criticism is happening. They are asking, forcing the government rather to condemn these strikes, name US in these strikes. But we haven't done that as of now. On the right hand side, we have another interesting article which talks about homemakers. Now, Supreme Court ने यहाँ पे एक ruling दी है where they talk about unpaid domestic workers and how the work which they do should be monetized at around 30,000 per month, and they have called them nation builders. And they are saying that जब भी कोई रोड एक्सीडेंट का केस होता है, and homemaker should be paid as per the contribution which they bring to the society, which they value at around 30,000 rupees per month, because they do a lot of these household tasks like cooking, cleaning, child care, elderly care, managing the house, and that has real economic value even though it is unpaid in most cases. And this was regarding a road accident case where a lady from Punjab, was killed in a road accident, and her husband and children sought compensation through the Motor Vehicles Act under the Motor Accidents Claim Tribunal. एंड देन फिर ये 2001 से केस चलता आ रहा है. 2003 में मोटर व्हीकल ट्रिब्यूनल ने इनको कॉम्पेंसेशन दिया, इन्होंने हायर अमाउंट रिक्वेस्ट किया, फिर हाई कोर्ट पहुंचा, हाई कोर्ट ने कॉम्पेंसेशन और थोड़ा सा बढ़ा दिया, और फिर अब फाइनली सुप्रीम कोर्ट की 2 जजेस की बेंच ने कहा है दैट this would be a precedent, and work of a homemaker would hold substantial value and social value. So this is kind of कह सकते हो major judgment, important judgment, because this is something new which the court has read into the law. ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं. Let's move ahead. City-based news not important. We can skip this. Sukhuman seek fair share for their states from the center. सेट ऑफ एंटी कन्वर्जन सेल्स. ठीक है, यहाँ पे कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं. ये एफ्सपा वाला आर्टिकल हमारे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, आर्म फोर्सेस स्पेशल पावर्स एक्ट. दिस विल डिस्कस ऑन द पीपीटी राइट आफ्टर द न्यूज़पेपर. ठीक है. Abhishek Banerjee appears before CID in Trinamool MLA's case. Not important for us. Move ahead. Okay. State news, efforts on to continue the Nipah outbreak, says the Kerala minister. So ये जो Nipah वायरस का इन्फेक्शन है केरला में काफ़ी ज़्यादा इस समय स्प्रेड हो रहा है, and they are trying to contain it. This is a rare but a very serious viral disease which spreads from humans to animals, and in some cases can also spread between people. अब यहाँ पे हुआ क्या है? This Nipah patient was identified in Kozhikode, which is in Kerala. 43-year-old man who developed symptoms of encephalitis. Encephalitis is a disease which results in inflammation of the brain, and he was transferred from a private hospital to the government medical college. Currently, he's in a stable position, and Kerala government has issued a high alert where they are taking maximum protection to contain this outbreak spread, control the spread within hospitals as well, and of course, person to person transmissions. And they have identified some cases where there are close contacts with these people. So healthcare workers, family members, friends, co-workers. 77 contacts have been identified, and they have been placed into 3 different categories of risk, and they would now be monitored for symptoms. So that is what is happening with respect to the Nipah virus. Let's move ahead. Bacillary dysentery cases are also rising in Kerala. So this is another infection. This is an intestinal infection which is caused by a bacteria called Shigella bacteria, and this disease is called shigellosis. And ये जो disease है, this spreads through contaminated water, food, poor hygiene conditions, and इसके भी cases काफी सारे देखे गए हैं केरला में. 34 cases in June itself, spread across various cities. And this started off in a school in Wayanad, जहाँ पे 500 plus students got infected, and now they are receiving treatment. And ये spread most likely contaminated water की वजह से हुआ है. जो samples इन्होंने collect किए हैं from a school campus, that was found to be highly contaminated, the well water in that school. Now, talking about this disease, shigellosis, this is a serious bacterial intestinal infection, as I just told you. And symptoms are, of course, diarrhea, mucus, high fever, and related conditions. And this spreads very easily from person to person through contaminated food, water, hygiene, all of those things. And the Kerala government is now working towards containing it. Okay, moving ahead, these are not important for us. Kharge and three other unanimously elected. All right. Okay, it's mostly state politics. We can skip this. Moving ahead. Okay, down to the editorial section. FCRA bill. This is the article which we'll discuss on the PPT. Left hand side, we have rejection of the papers of Congress. This one is not that important. You can skip this. Implementation complete, but workers are still vulnerable. Now, this talks about the new labor codes. Important article. Relevant article. Now, what are the new labor codes? These were four labor codes which were introduced late last year, and they consolidated the previous 29 older labor laws. What are these four codes? You need to know the name. The first one is the code on wages. Second one is the industrial relation code. Third one is the code on social security. And the last one is the OSHW, occupational safety, health and working conditions code. And the main argument for this article in this article is that ये जो rules government ने बनाए हैं, this is a missed opportunity to address major concerns which were raised by trade unions, labor experts, and academics. And instead of strengthening these worker protections, many important issues are still unclear or unresolved. अब यहाँ पे ये एक एक करके बताते हैं कि क्या क्या इश्यूज हैं. द फर्स्ट इशू विच ही हाईलाइट्स इज दैट this provision of fixed term employment could become a loophole. Fixed term employment क्या होता है? Basically workers which are hired for a specific period like 6 months or 1 year, and उनका contract फिर उसके बाद अपने आप end हो जाता है. And critics are worried that this particular law does not specify a minimum contract duration कि minimum 6 months या minimum 1 year रखना पड़ेगा, and also does not limit on how many times a contract can be renewed again. तो इससे प्रॉब्लम ये हो सकती है कि employers might hire people for 1 month, for 2 months, and they might keep on renewing the contract repeatedly. And इससे उनको एक full time job नहीं देनी पड़ेगी, वो contract पे ही रखेंगे worker को. And that might become problematic because उससे स्टेबिलिटी नहीं आएगी वर्कर्स के लिए, है ना. तो आर्टिकल कहता है कि एटलीस्ट 1 ईयर का मिनिमम टेन्योर होना चाहिए, एंड जो नंबर ऑफ रिन्यूअल्स हैं वो भी लिमिटेड होने चाहिए. बट वो चीज़ नहीं करी गई इन द न्यू लेटेस्ट लेबर लॉज. द सेकेंड इशू इज कंफ्यूजन ओवर मिनिमम वेजेस. अब एक कॉन्सेप्ट होता है फ्लोर वेज करके. फ्लोर वेज का मतलब होता है एक नेशनल मिनिमम बेंचमार्क जिसके नीचे आप वेजेस नहीं ले जा सकते. एंड कंसर्न यहाँ पे ये है that हमारे जो नए लेबर कोड्स हैं, they give a very vague definition of floor wage or minimum wage. They do not clearly explain how this is going to be different from the minimum wages as per the previous legislation. And without these clear guidelines, different states could interpret this very differently, and workers might not receive the adequate protection. The third issue which is highlighted in the new labor laws is the gender bias in calculating wages. तो यहाँ पे जब wages आप calculate करते हो minimum wages, तो policy maker assume करते हैं कि आपकी फैमिली में कितने लोग हैं, एंड अ मेल इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड एज 1 यूनिट, फीमेल इज टेकन एज 0.8 यूनिट, एंड चिल्ड्रन के लिए थोड़े से लोअर यूनिट्स होते हैं डिपेंडिंग ऑन देयर एज. अब यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम ये है दैट दिस अंडरवैल्यूज द नीड्स एंड कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ अ वुमन, एंड द न्यू रूल्स डिड नॉट चेंज दिस अप्रोच, सो दिस जेंडर बायस स्टिल कंटिन्यूज. And the last one is that this calculation of wage on an hourly basis is also detrimental to the workers. Hourly wage निकाली जाती है daily wage को divide by 8 करके, assuming there are 8 working hours. तो यहाँ पे क्रिटिसिज्म ये है दैट इफ अ वर्कर गेट्स ओनली 1 or 2 hours ऑफ वर्क, दे कैन नॉट नेसेसरली फाइंड वर्क फॉर द रिमेनिंग आवर्स. तो उनका डे तो वो स्पेंड हो गया ना, खराब हो गया. एंड देयर एक्चुअल इनकम वुड बी वेरी लो अगर आर्ली वेज उस हिसाब से आप निकालोगे तो. सो दिस इज very relevant for domestic workers, part-time workers, gig workers, freelancers, platform workers, because उनके जो hourly wages हैं they should be set independently rather than simply dividing them by daily wages, because किसी दिन 2 घंटे काम है, किसी दिन 6 घंटे काम है. So that becomes disproportionate and disadvantageous to them, and they remain quite vulnerable. गिग वर्कर्स में आपके सारे डिलीवरी ऐप पार्टनर्स, राइड हेलिंग सर्विसेज, ओला, उबर एंड ऑल, फ्रीलांस प्लेटफॉर्म्स, ये सारे पीपल आर अफेक्टेड बाय दिस. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट देयर इज आल्सो लेस क्लैरिटी ऑन ग्रेचुइटी इंश्योरेंस. ग्रेचुइटी क्या होता है? ग्रेचुइटी इज अ लंप सम अमाउंट विच यू गेट आफ्टर अ पर्टिकुलर लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ सर्विस, है ना. कहीं कहीं 5 years होता है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड डिपेंडिंग ऑन द प्रोफेशन. अब यहाँ पे चक्कर क्या है कि दिस कोड प्रपोज्ड मैंडेटरी ग्रेचुइटी इंश्योरेंस फॉर दीज वर्कर्स, बट द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट दीज रूल्स डू नॉट एक्सप्लेन हाउ द इंश्योरेंस विल वर्क. कौन प्रोवाइड करेगा वर्कर्स को, इसमें प्रोटेक्शन कैसे मिलेगा? तो बड़ा ही वेग एंड आर्बिट्ररी आप कह सकते हो प्रोविजन है ये. एंड ट्रेड यूनियंस की पावर को भी काफी वीक कर दिया गया है. एक रजिस्टर्ड ट्रेड यूनियन में 30% मेंबरशिप होनी चाहिए फॉर इट टू हैव ऑफिशियल रिकग्निशन. यानी कि जो छोटे ट्रेड यूनियंस होंगे वो इस थ्रेशोल्ड पे पहुंच ही नहीं पाएंगे 30% एम्प्लॉय कैपेसिटी पे, तो फिर वो ऑब्वियसली नेगोशिएट नहीं कर पाएंगे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ. तो ये सारे जो 7-8 कंसर्न्स हैं दैट हैव बीन हाइलाइटेड इन दिस आर्टिकल व्हिच tell you about the loopholes or the lacunas in the recent labor laws, and it's important that you know this. Labor law would also be taught to you in law school as a subject. Final year में पढ़ोगे आप most likely labor law in detail. तो वहाँ पे आपको सारा पढ़ाया जाएगा, industrial workers act and all of these things. Industrial disputes act, not workers act. ठीक है, आगे चले. Let's move ahead. लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे तमिलनाडु असेंबली स्पीकर साहब की बात हो रही है, हमारे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. 10th शेड्यूल की बात हो रही है. 10th शेड्यूल हमें पता ही है, एंटी डिफेक्शन लॉ, वी ऑल नो दिस. ठीक है जी, आगे चलते हैं. व्हाई इज निकोबार डिबेटिंग इलेक्शंस? लेट्स रीड द जिस्ट ऑफ दिस. Draft rules propose formal elections for Nicobarese village and tribal councils, including constituencies, voter rolls, and reservations for women. Traditional governance is consensus-based, with village captains chosen through community meetings and locally conducted ballots, rather than a fixed bureaucratic electoral system. Tribal leaders fear the proposed electoral system could bureaucratize their traditional governance structures and alter existing decision-making processes. ठीक है, उतना ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है हमारे लिए. व्हाट्स इंपॉर्टेंट इज दैट यू नो अबाउट द ग्रेट निकोबार प्रोजेक्ट, जो हम काफ़ी बार डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. ठीक है जी, लेट्स मूव अहेड. All right. 2 killed as violence flares up again in Manipur. NPF office was stormed. Unidentified gunmen kill a Kuki man and woman in Kamjong district in Kuluth village, close to the Myanmar border. Mob storms Naga People's Front. This is NPF office in Senapati over death of 6 Nagas. So clashes chal rahe hain once again. France backs Make in India and defense, signals a new model for Rafale deal. Rafale we all know is a fighter aircraft. कौन बनाता है इसको? Dassault कंपनी बनाती है फ्रांस की. एंड मोदी जी जो हैं फ्रांस जाने वाले हैं G7 समिट के लिए. वहाँ पे वो बात करेंगे इमैनुअल मैक्रोन, जो वहाँ के प्रेसिडेंट हैं, उनसे. And France says the future defense deals will support the Make in India campaign, which means more manufacturing in India, technology sharing, more industrial activity could happen in our country. And India is also considering a major purchase of 114 Rafale fighter jets from France for the Indian Air Force. And this would be estimated at around 3.25 lakh crores. And they would now be focusing on industrial cooperation, local manufacturing, co-development, and a long-term partnership, equal partnership. So that's good for us. Another major topic here is the nuclear energy. Civil Nuclear Corporation would also be discussed. With respect to energy security and clean energy transition. All right. 1 year since the Air India 171 crash, pilot body questions delay in release of final report. So आपके CLAT में क्वेश्चन आया था इस पे, दोबारा तो मुझे नहीं लगता आएगा. But this is regarding the Ahmedabad wala crash, जहाँ पे अहमदाबाद से लंदन जा रही थी flight, and that crashed right after a few seconds of taking off. And उसमें अभी भी final report जो है investigation की वो release नहीं करी गई है. So that is what is being questioned here. Okay. ठीक है. Nothing relevant for us here. So go ahead. US attacks third ship with Indian seafarers, crew saved. This is the same topic which was discussed on the first page. External Affairs Ministry is saying they're deeply worried by the attacks, but blames conflict in the region. US CENTCOM says missiles were fired into Jalveer's engine room as directions were not complied with. So the name of this vessel was Jalveer, and this happened near the port of Shinas, which is near Oman. इसमें 20 इंडियन सेलर्स थे एंड अभी तक तो रिपोर्टेडली सब लोग सेफ है. एंड यूएस का ये जो सेंटकॉम है, दिस इज द सेंट्रल कमांड, शॉर्ट फॉर सेंटकॉम, एंड ये शिप जो है लेके जा रहा था इरानियन ऑयल, एंड द क्रू फेल्ड टू कंप्लाई विद इंस्ट्रक्शंस फ्रॉम द यूएस फोर्सेस. तो उन्होंने 2 हेल फायर मिसाइल्स चला दी शिप के इंजन रूम पे, एंड द ऑब्जेक्टिव वाज टू डिसेबल द वेसल, नॉट टू सिंक इट. इस टाइप के पहले भी अटैक्स हुए, मंडे को भी, वेंसडे को भी. मंडे को ऑन अ वेसल कॉल्ड मैरीवेक्स, वेंसडे को ऑन अ वेसल कॉल्ड सेटेबेलो, एंड ऑल 3 अटैक्स वर टारगेटिंग द इंजन रूम्स एंड द स्टीयरिंग सिस्टम्स ताकि ये शिप आगे ना जा पाए. इसमें जो है सेटेबेलो वाले अटैक में 3 इंडियंस died, and the Indian government has also confirmed the death of these seafarers. बाकी हमने जो है एक स्ट्रॉन्ग प्रोटेस्ट लॉन्च किया है मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स ने, एंड दे हैव said that they would do something about it. They're calling the attacks deeply worrisome, and we all know this carried out by the US, but we have not named US directly. Diplomatic reasons, of course. ठीक है. IIT Kharagpur has hired the hacker who flagged the vulnerabilities in the CBSE system. निसर्ग अधिकारी को IIT कानपुर ने हायर कर लिया. Nice, good for him. Modi ji tells states to harness AI and prepare for the El Nino impact. El Nino impact में already explain कर चुका हूँ आप लोगों को. The warming up of the Pacific Ocean causes this effect, which results in hotter summers, lesser monsoon. We've discussed this. Okay. Moving forward, center lifts excise duty on higher ethanol blend petrol. तो अलग अलग वेरिएंट्स के अब पेट्रोल रिलीज किए जा रहे हैं. E85 की रिसेंटली हमने न्यूज़ देखी थी. E20 तो चल ही रहा है. तो ये जो हायर ब्लेंड वाले एथेनॉल फ्यूल है, उस पर जो एक्साइज ड्यूटी है, विच इज अ काइंड ऑफ टैक्स विच द गवर्नमेंट लेवाइज ऑन द सेल ऑफ पेट्रोल, वो कम कर दी गई है, लिफ्ट कर दी गई है रादर. सो ठीक है, अभी के लिए इसका कोई कंज्यूमर को डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट पास ऑन होता हुआ नहीं दिख रहा. होगा तो विल टॉक अबाउट इट. बाकी रूपी हैज अगेन डिप्ड बाय 60 पैसे एंड नाउ इट्स क्लोज टू 96 अगेंस्ट द डॉलर. अगेन वही वेस्ट एशिया क्राइसिस की वजह से हो रहा है ये. IT कंपनीज के शेयर डिप हो रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ क्लॉड्स न्यू मॉडल. वी हैव डिस्कस्ड दिस माइथॉस पिछली क्लास में. ठीक है. वर्ल्ड न्यूज में क्या है? 22 कंट्रीज टेल ईरान टू स्टॉप अटैकिंग पीपल ऑन आवर सॉइल. यूके डिफेंस सेक्रेटरी रिजाइन्स ओवर लो फंडिंग. इनका नाम है जॉन हीली. ठीक है. स्पोर्ट्स में आज कुछ सिग्निफिकेंट नहीं है सच. सो we'll move back to our PPT, to the remaining 3 articles, and then the vocab for the day. All right. I hope the PPT is now visible to everyone. Let's start off with the first article. Homemakers build nation work worth at least 30,000 a month. So, observing that homemakers deserve to be recognized as nation builders, Supreme Court ne rule kiya that unpaid domestic work performed by them must be monetized at a minimum 30K per month while calculating compensation for death in road accidents. This came in appeal arising from a motor accident claim in Punjab. मैंने already बता दिया आप लोगों को. A division bench of 2 judges said the contribution of homemaker extended beyond the household and plays a pivotal role in nation building. Aware of the role that the housewife contributes to the growth of the human being and the nation, Justice Carroll said that the loss of domestic care would be an additional ground to the heads of damages previously recognized by the court. The top court also noted the need to shift from the stereotypical terminology of daily usage from housewife to homemaker. Recognizing all aspects of being a homemaker and unpaid labor that a homemaker undertakes, the court directed the tribunal to award a separate compensation of 30,000 per month under the head of domestic care in cases involving death of a homemaker. It clarified that this amount would be treated as the minimum value of homemakers' unpaid work and would increase by 10% every 3 years. If the homemaker also had a paid job, this amount would be awarded in addition to her income. Okay. Now we talk about the AFSPA. So this is the Armed Forces Special Power Act, which gives the armed forces the power to maintain public order in disturbed areas. तो थोड़े से special powers दिए जाते हैं इनको, which are regarding the use of force and opening fire to maintain public order in these disturbed areas. Usually northeast में देखने को मिलता है आपको AFSPA, and this caters to prohibiting gatherings of 5 or more people using force or opening fire after giving due warning, and अगर reasonable suspicion है तो army can arrest, search without a warrant and prohibit the possession of firearms, और भी काफी सारे इसमें provisions हैं. And this also applies to the paramilitary forces like CRPF and BSF. AFSPA जो है enact किया गया था in 1958 to curb the violence in northeastern states, एंड जम्मू कश्मीर का एक अपना डिफरेंट टाइप का एफस्पा है, विच इज कॉल्ड द JNK आर्म फोर्सेस स्पेशल पावर्स एक्ट 1990. एंड डिस्टर्ब्ड एरिया जो है डिक्लेयर किया जाता है बाय नोटिफिकेशन अंडर सेक्शन 3 ऑफ द एफस्पा. तो ये तो बेसिक हो गया एफस्पा की डिटेल्स. अब यहाँ पे चेंज क्या है, लेट्स डिस्कस दैट. Home Minister said that the AFSPA will be withdrawn from the entire Northeast by next year, barring 1 or 2 states. Speaking at the signing of the tripartite MOU between the Centre, Assam and Nagaland to facilitate mineral oil operations in the Assam-Nagaland boundary areas, he said shrinking of the areas covered under AFSPA is an indicator of peace. I am confident that barring 1 or 2 states, we will withdraw AFSPA from the entire Northeast next year. Oil exploration activities remain stalled मतलब रुकी हुई for more than 3 decades in the disputed area belt along the Assam-Nagaland border due to jurisdictional differences. This will open new avenues for mineral exploration in the Northeast. The area is not only has oil and gas, but also huge mineral deposits, which could be explored after law and order is established. The Armed Forces Special Power Act traces history back to the colonial era 1942, जब Britishers ने ये enforce किया to crush the Quit India movement of 1942. Quit India movement में कौन सा स्लोगन दिया गया था by गांधी जी? जल्दी से बता दो चैट बॉक्स में, कौन सा स्लोगन became popular during the Quit India movement. After independence, the law was revived in 1958 when AFSPA was passed to deal with the Naga insurgency in Assam and Manipur. In 1972, the act was amended to give central government the authority to declare a region as disturbed area. And फिर उसके बाद this was also extended to other places in the northeast. इसमें जो है क्या क्या powers होती हैं? There is power to arrest without warrant, search and seizure, prohibition of assembly, periodic review. ये मैं already बता चुका आप लोगों को. The last article for the day is the FCRA bill, which expands the state control over civil society. तो समझते हैं इसको क्या है FCRA bill. This is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill. ठीक है, FCRA. लोकसभा में इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ लगभग 2 महीने पहले, and this is being presented as a step forward towards greater transparency and national security, जिससे एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर इंक्रीज होगी एंड एफसीआरए को एक ऐसा लॉ बनाया जाएगा जो रेगुलेट करेगा फॉरेन फंडिंग को. फॉरेन फंडिंग प्राइमरली फॉर एनजीओज, चैरिटेबल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, रिलीजियस इंस्टीट्यूशंस. एंड एफसीआरए ऑलरेडी वाज इन फोर्स, बट उसके जो रेगुलेशंस हैं वो और ज़्यादा स्ट्रिंजेंट कर दिए गए हैं. 2020 में जो restrictions लगाए गए थे, they required all foreign contributions to pass through a single bank branch, which is SBI in New Delhi, reducing administrative expenditure limits from 50% to 20%, banning sub-granting to smaller organizations, and expanding suspension powers. These measures alone devastated thousands of NGOs, particularly smaller faith-based and charitable bodies serving marginalized groups. अब ये जो bill है 2026 का, this goes further. By introducing a new chapter 3A and removing section 15 and replacing existing asset management provisions, it creates a framework for the government to seamlessly vest organizational assets and properties without compensation or management. Its most troubling provision is the proposed 14B section, which introduces automatic cessation of FCRA registration. Cessation मतलब cease हो जाना, बंद हो जाना. An organization could lose its registration not only if renewal is denied, but also if it fails to comply and apply on time for the renewal. और अगर pending है तो भी आपका cease हो जाएगा registration, which effectively allows institutions to be paralyzed through procedural delays rather than proven misconduct, weakening due process and increasing executive discretion. The gravest concern is 16A, which states that the FCRA registration is cancelled, surrendered, or deemed to have ceased. All foreign contribution and assets derived from them automatically provisionally vest in a government authority without prior judicial review or independent adjudication, which means that a simple administrative decision can strip an organization of its control over the funds and property. As cancellation under 14 can be based on broad and subjective grounds like public interest, these organizations are at a risk of losing their assets even for minor procedural or disputed violations. Because cancellation can trigger the application of 16A, they can even lose their assets even for procedural minor or disputed breaches. The designated authority would be empowered to manage, transfer or dispose of these assets with sale proceeds credited to the consolidated fund of India. यानी कि आपके जो assets हैं वो सारे बेच बाच के उसका जो पैसा है वो चला जाएगा consolidated fund of India के पास. Now, this provision is quite sweeping because it covers assets funded both domestically and from abroad. यानी कि आपके जो domestic assets हैं वो भी सारे seize कर लिए जाएंगे, which would potentially bring a lot of schools, hospitals, orphanages, religious institutions, charitable places like churches, mosques, temples, which are built over decades under government control. And ये जो power दी गई है designated authority को, this is quite extraordinary. You can take control of your assets, manage the institution, oversee finances, alter your operations, all in a vaguely defined term called public interest. तो अगर कोई भी organization fail कर जाता है to secure restoration or re-registration of their license in the prescribed period, तो फिर उनके सारे assets transfer कर दिए जाएंगे, sell कर दिए जाएंगे. So that's quite, I would say, drastic. This endangers not only the survival of these organizations, but also essential services and infrastructure upon which communities depend, which includes land, buildings, vehicles, equipments, unspent funds, and the possibility that these institutions could be effectively shut down. Seizing these funds into the consolidated fund based on weak or disputed allegations defeats the very purpose of these donations. The new provisions thus expose Indian organizations to the constant risk of state expropriation, endangering both donated funds and the assets they support. The framework establishes sweeping procedures for provisional vesting and permanent vesting of assets in government-appointed authority. FCRA के बारे में मैं already बता चुका आप लोगों को. This was originally enacted in 2010, came into force in 2011, amended in 2016, 18, and 2020, administered under Home Affairs Ministry. ठीक है. इसका जो registration है 5 years के लिए valid होता है, उसके बाद आपको 6 महीने के अंदर renewal कराना पड़ता है. And there are provisions under which the license can be cancelled. एक बार cancel हो गया तो 3 साल तक आप re-register नहीं करवा सकते. ठीक है, cool. वो क्या कर लेते हैं आज की. The first word is indolent. Indolent का मतलब होता है lazy, idle, not easily motivated to work. That is someone we call as indolent. Antonyms are industrious, ambitious, active. The sentence is an indolent boy who had to be forced to help out with the chores. So indolent होता है not willing to work, lazy. Insolent क्या होता है? Insolent होता है rude. ठीक है, तो similar words हैं, confuse मत करना दोनों में. The next word is temperamental. Temperamental मतलब moody, unstable, impulsive, influenced by mood, especially bad mood. Preston is particularly good at handling temperamental people. Antonyms are even, flexible, inflexible, and immutable. The last word is scoff. Scoff का मतलब होता है to speak about someone in a mocking way. So sneering, smoking, these are synonyms. Smile, laugh, and grin are antonyms. You are pleased to scoff. That is what it means. So these are the 3 words for the day: scoff, temperamental, and indolent. And with that, we come to the end of today's discussion. I'll meet you guys tomorrow on Saturday in a live session at 8 p.m. And बाकी बातें कल डिस्कस करते हैं in the live session. बाकी once again, apologies for the inconvenience yesterday and today. Monday से हम लोग करते हैं अपना quiz start. ठीक है, चलो, that's all for the day. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye. See you all tomorrow. Good night.